An ex member of one of the military's most elite units used the skills he learned serving his country for a nationwide crime spree. His unusual demeanor made headlines, and he shocked a community when he came out of forced retirement for one final heist. This week's episode is The Roofman, Jeffrey Manchester. Sinisterhood. I said, bad news, everybody. I'm in love with the Roofman. I fell in love with him while researching this.
With a criminal?
You know how it is. They're a smooth talker. What can I say? I'm a sucker for a smooth talker.
He's weapons are involved, but he doesn't do anything too dangerous, I suppose.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, don't worry. I didn't fall in love with the madman, certainly. But one story this is, his mom's like, this is something that could be in the movies. And like, you're right, Mom. Sometimes truth is stranger than fiction, for sure.
I will fall in love with Channing Tatum. Even if he pulls a gun on me, I'll be like, it's all right. It's fine.
We have standards, and it is Channing Tatum. Do whatever you want. Truly. But I think that's who I will envision as we go through this story as our lead is Channing Tatum.
Well, that's who's going to be the lead, playing the man that we were talking about today in the upcoming movie. And it's never a bad time when you picture Channing Tatum for an hour.
Exactly. It's like, I just need to envision this guy, just Magic Mike Channing Tatum. Will he look like that in the movie? We can't prove it. Is he going to do a striptease to My Pony by Genuine? Maybe they'll add it. We don't know. It's not in our story because it didn't happen, but
it's not canon, but who knows? Maybe they'll add it in post.
Exactly. It'll be our own headcanon that we pretended it happened.
Well, I'm Christy.
I'm Heather.
And let's get into it. Jeffrey Allen Manchester was born in Sacramento, California in 1971 to Alan and Vicki Manchester. His mother described his childhood as middle class and quiet. He never got into trouble, attended church every Sunday, and his mom told the Charlotte Observer,
"He's always been very polite."
He graduated from Rancho Cordova High School in 1991 and joined the military as part of the elite 82nd Airborne Division, known for its rapid deployment capabilities, specializing in airborne assault operations and forcible entry.
I've seen people with like the hats or like a patch on, and this is like an elite unit that they said you can be out of bed and then boots on the ground around the world in like 18 hours or less. Like including flight time. That's how fast they're out the door.
That sounds stressful. I need 18 hours to pack for anything. So it'd be a lot for me to get across the world in 18 hours.
I'm like, can we stop for breakfast? Wait, we're going that quickly?
We got to make our time.
No,
yeah. We've covered some other cases where people have been in that division, and it is a very elite, prestigious division of the military. Later described as a confident and likable soldier, Jeffrey's specialty was operating landing craft, small boats used to move people and equipment from ship to shore during amphibious assaults. Jeffrey trained in weapons, rappelling, climbing, and paratrooping at Fort Bragg. At age 20, he married a young woman named Telena, who worked at a McDonald's in Rancho Cordova in 1990, and later at another location in North Carolina in the early 90s. The couple moved around with Jeffrey's assignments and eventually started a family, having twin boys around 1992 and a daughter the next year. His service ended after 9 years. Jeffrey's mother told the Observer he became
troubled
after leaving, though she didn't elaborate. He joined the Army Reserves. In January of 1998, he was assigned to a field hospital as a supply sergeant, with the family relocating to California. By April of 98, the couple and their 3 children settled into on-base housing at a naval weapons station in Concord. The trouble continued. Around mid-1998, for unknown reasons, Jeffrey and Telena decided to separate, with Telena retaining custody of their children. In November of 98, police were called to Jeffrey's on-base housing on reports of a domestic dispute. The couple had gotten into an argument when Telena came by to pick up some things. No charges were filed.
Yeah, it sounds like by all accounts, it was kind of a normal young couple traveling around with the military and just living their lives. But this mid-1998 to late 1998 is when Jeffrey's life splinters.
Yeah, I mean, it's not shocking when people come out of the military and they've got some, quote, troubles and problems. And A lot of those, I think, they keep internalized because of no one can
Stigma.
relate to what they're going through, or they just, for whatever reason, don't want to talk about it. But you see it happen a lot where it surfaces in relationships with your spouse or family, and then you kind of just develop a separate life from all of them.
For sure. And I'm sure it's hard, like coming back to civilian life, even if you're still in the reserves, like when your job was like, okay, in 18 hours, we're going to be in, this other side of the world, and kind of that excitement or training for those kind of exciting missions that then it's like kind of becomes more of a rote day to day thing. I wonder if you're like, oh, well, I don't really get to do anything exciting anymore. I got to go find that somewhere
It's
else.
a bit mundane. Yeah. You're looking for that high still.
Mm-hmm.
On Thanksgiving of that year, something strange happened at a McDonald's restaurant in nearby Folsom. Someone drilled a hole in the roof and hid in the ceiling, waiting for employees to open the store, with plans of a heist. The suspect had failed to note that McDonald's was closed for the holiday and eventually left empty handed. Neither police nor Talena knew at the time that the would-be robber was Jeffrey.
Oh man, the holiday hours got you,
You
dog.
gotta check the hours before you plan something like this. The holidays they can be a bad time to rob places because they're closed, or
People are gone.
the best time to rob places because they're closed. I guess it depends on the type of heist you're trying to pull off.
For sure. You're like, I'm sure there'll be a lot of that Thanksgiving dough. But back in the late 90s, a lot of places closed on holidays. Now I think we're more in the realm of like 24-hour McDonald's are never going to close. So it is funny to think that like, not funny, but how quaint and nostalgic that like everyone didn't have to work on Thanksgiving back in the day.
Now even it's like, or you close at 3. It's a half day, but rarely are places closed, especially for Thanksgiving. I feel like Christmas is the only holiday where a store might be completely closed.
And sometimes New Year's Day, but yeah, for sure. Thanksgiving gets like, well, you're still home in time for dinner. It's like some of us start eating at 3 when the Cowboys game comes on.
Yeah. Or some of us start eating at 10 a.m. and then they got to take a nap, and then they got to get back up at 3 and eat again, and then they got to take another nap, and so on and so forth. So I can't be working a shift right now.
Yeah, you're really messing up my celebratory time.
He regrouped and on Christmas Eve hit the McDonald's in Placerville, 45 miles outside Sacramento. He used the same plan of entering through a hole in the ceiling, cleverly circumventing the restaurant's alarm. It worked. He easily scored some cash and wanted more. Soon, Jeffrey was robbing McDonald's restaurants in multiple cities in Northern California and across state lines into Nevada. At each robbery, his MO was the same. He would take a backpack full of saws, drills, and ropes to his target's rooftop, where he drilled a hole, approximately 2 feet by 2 feet, in the roof, while the target was empty. He would climb through and spend the night in the space between the roof and the dropped ceiling, undetected by alarms.
The thing about a McDonald's is they're all back, especially back then, but even now, they're all like designed the same. So once you kind of know the layout of one and you know, oh shit, the roof's like this everywhere. Alrighty, I'll go to the next one.
Yeah, that might could be said of most fast food chains, I suppose, unless they're ones where they like take over the building of a previous fast food. Because I'll always be like, that Whataburger used to be a Taco Bell, or like you can tell that there's something different. But this is a smart way to break into a place, if I do say so myself.
It's so genius. And also that's so militaristic to be like, okay, I'm going to hit the target early and then wait until, it's like the thought that would have not have occurred to me. But I wonder if since his wife worked there, if he was kind of like, oh, money, like almost knowing a little bit, because he never worked there himself, but knowing like the operations a little bit, or just like, yeah, it's loose. We just keep the money in a safe. It's like thousands of dollars. He's like, thousands, you say?
Yeah, it's that patience, that military patience of like, I'll just sit and wait until it's time to strike. Whereas most people would be like, I want to get in and out as fast as possible. But then that's when you trip an alarm and get caught. Patience is a virtue.
Exactly. He's like surgical.
Yes. He's like Looney Tune, getting the circle out and just popping it out and waiting in there.
It's
Now,
like
do I want to sleep in a ceiling
No.
for hours? No. But if I'm like, well, the payoff's going to be a couple grand, I might.
I know, it just depends. But yeah, you said Looney Tunes, just one of those big saws, like,
Mhm.
but he would, the worst place to hide or the best place to hide, depending, above the bathrooms. Cause he was like, I can drop down, no one will be around, and then I can run on them. But then you're sleeping above a bathroom for 12
Yeah.
hours or however long.
Yeah. Yeah.
A McDonald's bathroom.
No. Mm-mm. Yeah, you got to get over the fry vat, if
Dude.
anywhere. Although if you fall, then you land in a bunch of oil. So, but the smell of the fries would be
Worth it.
nice while you're waiting to
Worth
attack. Once the place was free of customers, either at closing or just before opening, Jeffrey dropped down onto the floor from above and surprised employees wearing a mask, gloves, and either all black or military green. He would then gather the employees at gunpoint and instruct them to grab their jackets, gently ushering them into walk-in freezers. He then apologetically forced managers to empty safes and registers for him. Once the loot was secure, he locked the managers in with their employees, barring the door with a metal lemon slicer. Before running, he would call police, telling them to come and free the folks from the freezer.
And that's the thing of a franchise. The freezers are the same. The lemon slicers are the same. The bathroom like he just was like, oh, everything I need's in the kitchen already.
Yeah, I've never really thought about that, but the mirrored blueprint of chain places would be, once one person gets like one under their belt, it's pretty easy to just hit a bunch.
Yeah, like why would I go into the unknown whenever I know it's going to be easy? The bathroom, I run around, the manager's office is probably here. You start, and I'm sure after the first 10 or so, you start 20, more than that, you start to get like just another day on the job.
Yeah, and a little overconfident perhaps.
Also that.
Now, if I am working and someone drops from the motherfucking ceiling in front of me, that'd be my last day on the job because I would have a heart attack and die on the spot.
I would fly into the freezer or fly into the vat of fries oil. I'd just be like, ah!
Tommy can walk into a room and I'll scream bloody murder.
Yeah.
So somebody dropping from the ceiling when I'm not suspecting it, I'm dead.
They said too, it was anywhere from a 10-foot to 14-foot drop. So imagine how high above you that is. And so you don't even see him start to drop. It's just feet on the ground
Just
and
right
there's
in
someone
front of you.
Like also military looking, just his eyes showing, face covered, all black and he would take a 22 caliber rifle. So like not a huge gun, but it's like.
But a gun just dropped out of the ceiling with a man holding it.
God, like
never in my life.
Pass away.
I would evaporate like the oil from the fryer, just right into the air. I can't. However, once he starts talking and you're like, well, at least he's kind of nice. And he seems like he kind of feels bad for all of us. He doesn't want to hurt anybody. However, you've still got a rifle.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you've still been, even though you have your jacket in the freezer, you're still locked in a freezer at gunpoint, certainly. But
that is very nice that he let them get their jackets, though, because that is a way that people have died in many circumstances, are being locked in those freezers or accidentally getting locked in those freezers. So he had some, forethought about it all.
Mm-hmm. Sinisterhood will be right back.
Well, if there's one thing that I love in this world, it's my children. But a close second is bread.
Hell yeah.
I love carbs, but we all know, you eat too many, you're going to feel bogged down. It's just too much sugar, but not with Hero bread. You can have all those things you want and also focus on your health goals.
And they're still good, right? With Hero bread, you focus on your health goals and you get to indulge in the soft, fluffy, bready experience that you love. You could get a nutritious breakfast wrap, make you some avocado toast, grilled cheese with a cozy soup, or even family burger night, which y'all do. Their products are delicious. They're flavorful, but like you said, ultra low net carbs, 0 grams of sugar, and high in fiber. What's your favorite Heroes?
Oh man, probably the bagels, the sliced bread too. Tortillas also. It's all good, and you would never know that it is low in carbs. Like it just doesn't have the texture that normally does. It doesn't have the flavor that normally does. In fact, I find it all to be tastier than bread that has full-ass carbs in it. Full-ass
Paris said the same.
carbs is something I'm going to trademark.
Paris said the same thing, that you would never know it's low net carb and high fiber because the texture, it's soft, fluffy. It's the experience you know and love, and you enjoy it in all the ways normally you would with bread, breakfast sandwiches, late night sandwiches, taco night with the tortillas.
Absolutely.
They got it all.
And you can get monthly small batch drops of indulgent favorites like their 4G net carb bagel and new surprises coming this year.
Hero Bread is offering 10% off your order. Go to hero.co and use code CREEPY at checkout.
That's creepy at hero.co.
Sinisterhood will be right back.
Jeffrey hit 35 spots between November of 98 and October of 1999 and wasn't stopping. He expanded further. While Jeffrey attended a watercraft operator course in southeastern Virginia in the fall of 1999, McDonald's locations in Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina during the same period were robbed the same way as their Northern California counterparts. One investigator confided to the Sacramento Bee that they believed this interstate robber would never be caught, but still they tried. The California Department of Justice created a 9-state task force that coined a name for the bandit, the Roofman robber, or simply Roofman.
Do you think Jeffrey was like, fuck yeah, I'm the roof man now?
I'm the roof man. Yeah. This, Ella's very into Dog Man. So I can just see a whole series of children's books. YA, probably.
Yeah.
We don't want to do children. That's just Roof Man. And it's this guy just robbing a bunch of McDonald's.
Hey, kids, if you want to make sure people don't freak out, be nice to them and give them their jackets before you put them in.
It teaches you a lesson about kindness. The media picked up the story, often calling him a, quote, gentleman bandit. In one case, he allowed an employee to remove a sausage cooking on the grill before forcing them into the freezer. Another manager explained to the Sacramento Bee.
He was really polite, really apologizing. He said, would you please, ma'am, get on the floor? Would you please, ma'am, get down?
The Bee summed it up, saying this notorious robber had
a coast-to-coast reputation as the most courteous in the nation. So now you have a name and a catchphrase.
And a rhyming, catchy catchphrase.
Yes.
Coast-to-coast reputation is the most courteous in the nation. This writes itself, first of all.
For sure.
But you got to get a sausage off the grill. What, you're going to be locked in the freezer? That could start a fire. Then you're in the freezer and a fire breaks out.
What if he was like, take the sausage with you. If you're hungry, it's fine.
Just eat it. She's like, I've got a couple orders I need to get out before this. But once you're raised polite and you have that ingrained in you, it kind of bleeds over into all areas of your life.
Honestly, we only included one quote. There were probably a dozen or more of like, he told me thank you. He asked me please. He said, would you mind? Would you? So it just got to where it was like repetitive. So it was very consistent. And anytime a McDonald's would get robbed sort of similarly, and I think it was like one case, the guy got arrested and the robber was an asshole and was mean and gruff. They said he had a really rough voice. The cops were like, that's not our guy. That's a copycat. And it was because that guy got arrested and then another Roofman thing happened. So that's literally was his signature, was just kindness.
I mean, if you've got to have a signature and leave something behind, I think spreading joy is the way to go.
Exactly. Spreading joy at gunpoint? Certainly.
Yes.
Not great.
But better than being mean at gunpoint.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if I had to get robbed, I would rather get robbed like this. Truly. I don't want to get robbed at all. But if I had to, I hope the guy let me take my jacket.
What if Channing Tatum drops from the ceiling? He's got a mask on, but you can still tell it's Channing Tatum. Does he have a rifle? Yes, it's still Channing Tatum. He asks you to get in the freezer. You say, do you want to come in the freezer with me? It's getting a little cold in here. Do we need to warm it up?
Should I wear this jacket or take it and my uniform off? He's like, please put your visor back on, ma'am.
Please, ma'am, get on the ground. Get the sausage and get on the ground.
I'd love to. I would love to.
Would you like to? Though he carried a gun, Roofman was rarely violent. He fired shots only twice, once for effect and another time to open a locked door for his escape. Police later claimed he, quote, pistol whipped one victim, but reports from the time describe a single strike from the Roofman, dealt in response to being hit over the head with a bucket. He tied the employee up, who suffered no serious injuries, according to the Sacramento Bee. But Sergeant Rick Gibson of the county sheriff's office warned the paper.
The message he sent is that he is fully capable of carrying out a threat. But like, they were like, the announcement from police in multiple areas, they were like, he viciously pistol whipped someone horribly. But when you go back, and I kept going, oh my God, did he? And when you go back to the actual reports at the time, it's like, well, to his credit, the employee did nothing wrong. You're trying to subdue a robber with a gun, whacked him with a bucket. But in response, he didn't shoot the guy. He whacked him once and was like, I have to tie you up now because you hit me. And I didn't want to. It's like, you're making me do this. It's like, I don't think so. I think you robbed the place in general.
Yeah.
But I just don't like the twisting of it, by the narrative twisting of it, of like, this man is so vicious that he's pistol whipping people left and right. It's like, well, let's get the truth of the matter. That maybe he does that when you attack him. So if you tell people, oh, he's so violent, and someone does try to, he might escalate in violence.
Yeah. It did show that he can if he wants to.
Truly.
However, I don't think he wanted to. I think he just wanted to get the money and get out with zero injuries, if possible. I would argue being robbed at gunpoint is going to give you some trauma, whether you get pistol whipped or not. So even if he's not physically hurting people, the emotional damage that he's doing to these people, that's something else.
It also, and that's true, because being held at gunpoint is an inherently heightened emotion. You're terrified. And then the cognitive dissonance and confusion of someone being like, hey, would you want to just go in the freezer? You're like, this is a trick. I don't think it's true. I think it's a trap. He's telling us to get his gun so he can shoot us easier. It's like, no, I just don't want you to be cold. It's like, I don't like this. Because I think that would also lead you to have additional trauma on top of just being held, just being robbed, is like being robbed in this like very weird way that's like a mind fuck.
Also having to get in the freezer, that anytime you're like confined to an area, but especially if it's, you could freeze to death if you're left in there too long. That adds an extra element of trauma and fear.
Or no air, right?
Yeah.
I think if it's like sealed off for so long.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why he called the cops. It was like, there's people in the freezer. You got to get over there. They're going to suffocate.
Yeah,
like,
which I mean,
don't lock them up in the first place, man.
True. I wonder, I think some of it was really he just didn't want any casualties.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if there were and he's caught, that's a whole other ball of wax.
And that's what I was thinking too. While we can attribute a lot of it to a polite, kind person, I think it also is a CYA from a militaristic perspective of check. That if you have a sausage on the grill, you're right. The smoke detector will come off and, whatever. And it might be dangerous for them. Or if you kill someone during a felony, that's felony murder. So don't kill anybody or even hurt them.
Roofman had extreme speed, strength, and athleticism on his side. He ran so far and so fast after jobs, no one ever saw the vehicle he drove. He also showed tremendous calm under pressure. In one location, he was slipping out the window on one side of the restaurant as police rushed in the other side. When police in Placerville, California, cornered him on a McDonald's roof, Roofman jumped off, leapt over a chain-link fence, hightailed it across the highway, and vanished into some trees.
The cops just watching it like, I think we just saw a superhero, a super villain. Like he just jumped off a roof.
If you are determined to not get caught, I think adrenaline kicks in a way that you don't even realize you're capable of these things until push comes to shove.
Yeah, it's like a legitimate 6-lane highway that he's just like Forrest Gumping it, like just taking off. And they're like,
this is my toxic trait.
What, you think you could?
I feel like if I was ever presented with a situation where I had to get out of what I was doing super fast, that I would just develop like superhuman abilities to leap from buildings or run very fast or like grab my children under both arms and just like take off.
Yeah,
that adrenaline gets pumping through you.
When it's like, oh my, this kid, it rolled over his foot and the mom lifted the car off of him or whatever. It's like, I think that we have the capacity for super strength within us. Just some circumstances let it out of some of us in one way, like the Roofman, and others would be like your children are in danger.
Mm-hmm. The military training, though, definitely comes in to play here. Being able to jump off things, very, agile, not roll an ankle when you drop 14 feet out of a ceiling.
And that's what the employees were like, oh, he dropped down and just immediately bounced back up and was like, all right, let's go. It wasn't like he fell out and was like, hang on, I got to get up. It was like down and back. And
that's kind of a risky way to enter a place because I'm looking at my ceilings right now.
Okay,
I
8
don't
feet.
know. There's probably like 12-foot ceilings or something. So
Yeah, in your studio, yeah.
yeah, if I jump down off of this, I mean, I could jump 2 feet and I'd break my ankle. So I'm definitely not jumping off of that.
I don't
But the
hop
calm
curbs.
under pressure too is another, military training thing, I think.
I think so. If you're trying to escape and you hear the clamoring of police, that you don't panic, that you're just like
Mhm.
laser focused, and then again, you're just Forrest Gumping it. Just run,
There
run,
you go.
run.
Into some trees. As the suspect's primary target, McDonald's announced a $10,000 reward for information leading to his capture. Workers were instructed to check the roof before and after shifts. Employees were also told not to listen to music during opening or closing tasks to maintain awareness. Police asked for the public's help, locating a white male, 5'10", 165 pounds, around 25 years old, with brown hair. A composite sketch showed half his face covered with a mask, as he was never seen without one. Theories on the roofman's identity ranged from a former McDonald's employee to an electrician or a roofer. Because he could drop 10 to 14 feet from a ceiling without missing a beat, investigators suspected he was military trained.
Yeah, the idea that as a McDonald's employee, that McDonald's corporate now puts the onus on you that you
No.
now have to go check the roof and you have to turn your headphones
Hell
off.
no. Also, you're telling me I gotta just close in silence in case I hear like up on the roof so I can do something about it? No. I'm not ever opening or closing a McDonald's if this is going on.
Dog, big ass corporations will do anything but protect their employees. They're like,
Right?
we're going to need you to take on these extra tasks. And you're like, you mean sweeping the perimeter to try to find suspects? No.
Is
I
a
get paid-
raise involved?
Yes.
No. In fact, you're probably going to need to get here about an hour early just to make sure no one's up there. But, you'll be paid your hourly rate for that. But it's like, why don't you hire a security guard
Nope.
to fucking patrol this place 24 hours?
Install alarm systems that maybe would alert if there was some on the roof, anything. But no, it's like, hey, you guys just be on the lookout. You might
Yeah.
get locked in a freezer. It's like,
Goddamn.
so $10,000, that's kind of paltry.
Yeah. Roofman continued successfully robbing restaurants until late May 2000. Jeffrey, then a sergeant in the Army Reserves, accompanied his unit to North Carolina for their annual training mission. Training ended on a Thursday, and most of his crew headed back. Jeffrey told them he was staying in North Carolina to visit friends.
Everybody in the crew was like, that was normal. If we went somewhere and you wanted to, if we're done on a Thursday, you might want to stay the weekend. It's not like a weird thing to stick around.
Yeah.
It's a good cover.
Yes. Just after midnight on Saturday, May 20th, 2000, Jeffrey jumped through the roof of a McDonald's in Gastonia and pulled a classic roofman heist, netting $1,300. Around 5 a.m., just 10 miles away, he did the same thing in Belmont, a small town of around 8,500 across the river from Charlotte, robbing the place just before it opened. He scored $8,000 across both jobs. Only this time, his luck had run out. He pulled the second heist around shift change for the Belmont police, which meant twice the number of cruisers on the road looking for him once he fled.
I also think it being a small town had something to do with it, that it was like they ain't got shit else to do. So,
Yeah.
And they also radioed in. So some people from some units from nearby cities came over too, because they were already on the lookout for the midnight robbery. And 10 miles is not far.
No. I think
So-
small towns too. You want to be the one to catch this guy.
Oh, yeah.
Put your name on the map.
He's got his
Small
hands on
town
tips.
sheriff, there's nothing he wants more than to have this case.
Oh, yeah.
Tony Adkins, a K-9 officer, passed a white rental car abandoned in a church parking lot about a mile from the McDonald's. Adkins called for backup and watched as a man emerged from a nearby wooded area, only to flee when he spotted the officer. 5 additional police arrived and found Jeffrey hiding in tall grass nearby with a .22 caliber rifle, $8,000 in cash, and a bag containing drills, screwdrivers, a pry bar, and other tools. As the cuffs were placed on him, Jeffrey told Adkins,
You guys did a real good job today.
"Well, look at that. He's even complimentary when he's polite
He's like,
when he's even getting arrested.
I'd shake your hand to congratulate you, but I am handcuffed.
But they're behind my back right now.
You know?
But
Let me just turn around.
if nobody else has told you did a good job today, Adkins, you did. You
Yeah,
heard
he's
it
like-
from me, at least."
Hey, buddy, you should be proud of yourself. You worked really hard to arrest me.
Well, they did though. I
Yeah,
mean,
for real.
I think he would have fled again had it not been
Oh,
for the influx of cops. But at some point, you got to realize you're outmatched.
yeah, this man was never going to stop until he was caught.
Yeah. Belmont police described him as,
Very cooperative.
but Jeffrey denied all involvement in the other robberies. He claimed he was merely copying what he had seen on the news. However, his military service record coincided exactly with multiple Roofman incidents. When news of the arrest broke, the California Department of Justice sent an agent out to North Carolina to confirm whether he could be their roofman.
Yeah, there was some talk about, because it was across state lines, if there could be some federal charges or whatever. But I think North Carolina, and especially that county, like you said, they're like, this is our guy. We got him. So they proceeded with their charges immediately without maybe asking the feds, do you want him? Should we? It's just like, we're taking him and we're charging him hard.
Finders keepers.
For sure.
Jeffrey was charged with kidnapping and robbery for the 2 McDonald's he hit while on his training mission and remained jailed in North Carolina with bonds set at $1 million. In total, police believed he robbed 42 businesses, 32 of which were McDonald's, in just 18 months. He also robbed a Toys R Us, 2 video stores, and a grocery store, as well as other fast food restaurants. Although he was caught in North Carolina, Northern California was his most frequent target. He allegedly hit 9 states in all, including Maryland, Minnesota, Nevada, Oregon, South Carolina, Virginia, and Washington. But the arresting detective in North Carolina told the media,
He came to the wrong place when he came to Belmont.
oh, he worked on that line for so long.
He's
and
like,
said
let
it
me
in the
say
mirror to himself until he got it just right.
You think hands on the hips or on the gun or just
I
down
think
by
hands
the
on the
side?
hips, but maybe like by the gun just to send a
Yeah.
message, you know?
Just in case, just in case. But yeah, I mean, they said 42 places in 18 months. He was a busy boy, but they said he netted about $100,000 across all the jobs. So
Well,
it was lucrative.
yeah, there you go.
Sinisterhood will be right back. Getting older comes with a few wake up calls. We got more hair in the drain. Your part may be widening. Perhaps you zoom in on some old photos and wonder if your hair was always looking that thin. That is why we're loving what OneSkin is doing. Their OS1 peptide has already been transforming our skin here at Sinisterhood. And now with their new scalp serum, OS1 Hair, they're tackling hair loss, thinning, and shedding too.
Why would a skincare company create a scalp treatment? Because the scalp is skin. And just like the rest of your body, it experiences cellular aging. But instead of wrinkles, it messes with your hair follicles and natural growth cycle, leading to hair loss and thinning. Makes sense to me.
It's all skin at the end of the day.
It's true.
OS1 Hair is the first scalp serum produced by OneSkin's OS1 peptide, which targets those aging cells called senescent cells. And it's scientifically proven to help your hair cells do what they're meant to do: grow fuller, denser, healthier hair. Get to the root of hair loss and thinning with OS1 Hair. You'll save 15% on your first purchase with code CREEPY at oneskin.co. And let me just say, they know because they're scientists, but whatever is in this OS1 peptide, I love it. It absorbs into my skin, my face, the eye cream, everything they make, I feel makes my body better and healthier. And I feel nourished when I put it on me. So now we're going face to hair, baby. I'm in.
It's all, you can do it all at once too. If your head is close to your face. So
right there.
It's all right there. And it totally makes sense that your scalp is skin. Something you don't really think about, but of course that makes sense. And they're scientists, so they know what they're doing.
Better than me for sure, but I love it anyway. Founded and led by an all-woman team of skin longevity scientists, OneSkin is redefining the aging process with their proprietary OS1 peptide. Get 15% off with code CREEPY at oneskin.co.
That's 15% off oneskin.co with code CREEPY. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Invest in the health and longevity of your skin and scalp with OneSkin. Your future self will thank you.
Sinisterhood will be right back.
In a call to his mom from prison, Jeffrey told her,
"Mom, I lost focus."
But he never stated publicly his reason for becoming Roofman. His ex-wife told the Sacramento Bee the couple had separated months before the first robbery and explained,
"It was just as big a shock to me as it was to everyone else. I have no knowledge of his activities. I don't agree with what he did, but he's a good person and a generally nice guy." Even your ex isn't like talking shit.
Yeah, you're like, but you're his ex, right? Say something.
Yeah,
She's like,
he's a
I
great guy.
really can't. It was amicable. I mean, they did have a domestic dispute that,
Mhm. They
they
were just
show that
yelling.
4 no charges were filed. So there's not a lot of information about that. But by all accounts, he really was a nice guy. No one would expect this from. And when you find this out, you're like scratching your head, like, who could have seen this coming?
They're like, Jeff?
Yeah.
Did what? And they're like, yeah, he dropped 14 feet with a gun. And you're like, Jeff, my Jeff? No, he's nice. And they're
You're
like,
like,
yeah, he was very nice when he did it. You're like,
He got $100,000 out of
Yeah.
hitting 42 businesses. You're like, well, he always was tenacious.
yeah, exactly. He loved it. But yeah, I mean, as part of his strategy was to say, I'm not the Roofman, right? Like he was saying, I did do these ones in North Carolina. I'm happy to stand trial for those, but please don't mention Roofman. His attorneys were able to file a motion in limine that omitted any mention of the Roofman stuff. So the jury that would have heard his case would only have heard the North Carolina style robberies, which, I mean, if not, then they're pretty much going to slam dunk convict you. If it was like, here's a map of Roofman robberies, here's a map of Jeffrey's, and now they're trying him on something from another state that doesn't really have anything to do with these.
Yeah. On August 15th, 2000, Jeffrey pleaded not guilty to all charges in North Carolina, which by then included nearly a dozen felonies and carried a potential sentence of between 78 and 102 years. A trial was set, but on November 1st, as the jury was being sworn in, he pleaded guilty to 2 counts of breaking and entering. He refused to plead to the other charges, rejecting an offer of 15 to 22 years for being too long.
Tale as old as time.
The trial continued on 9 remaining counts, including 8 counts of first-degree kidnapping. His defense offered a few explanations for the 2 robberies, saying Jeffrey struggled financially and had watched the movie Gladiator the day of the crimes, which made him feel aggressive. The jury deliberated for 2 hours before convicting him.
Who amongst us hasn't seen Russell Crowe's performance
and then
grabbed his
want to
saw?
go out and rob a McDonald's? I feel
2
like
in one night.
Well, the tigers, aren't they? Full disclosure, I've never seen Gladiator,
Oh, no
but
way.
aren't there tigers involved? Don't they fight tigers?
I think maybe they fight lions?
Lions.
They're
That's
fighting
probably,
something.
They're fighting some kind of giant cat, which if you watch it, get all juiced up, you think you can go out and do it. Now, unless you watch Gladiator every time before he went out and hit these businesses, I don't think we can really use that defense.
He's like, I would watch Taxi Driver before this other one. I get juiced up. I got to stop watching movies. But he refused to plead on the first degree kidnapping because he disagreed with it. He's like, I locked them up incidental to this robbery. I was not kidnapping them for purposes of like holding them, but the state continued on that charge. And I guess, the jury felt that they met every single element beyond a reasonable doubt. But was his reason for saying, yes, I did the B&E, but I did not kidnap anybody, but the jury disagreed.
Well, we're kind of getting into semantics at that point, the nitty gritty. Like, well, maybe you didn't take them anywhere, but you locked them up. So I don't know if there's another charge instead of kidnapping that's under the same type of umbrella.
Yeah, and you can disagree with what you did, that what you did didn't fit the legal definition, but it's not really up to you to decide.
Yeah.
It's like 12 people you've never met who all they know about you is that you're like, man, I got jacked up seeing Joaquin Phoenix putting his thumb down. I had to go do something about it. But yeah, so he faced 78 to 100 years. They offered him 15 to 22, and then he was convicted.
Yeah. The judge sentenced the 28-year-old to 45 years in prison, musing.
I certainly have no explanation for why someone with no criminal record who served honorably in the U.S. military could do something like this.
Jeffrey's dad, Alan, told the Charlotte Observer in the courtroom.
This is my worst nightmare. We were completely taken off guard. It wasn't Jeff.
Before being incarcerated at Brown Creek Correctional Institution in Polkton, North Carolina, Jeffrey apologized to the court, saying,
I knew what I was doing was wrong. I'll have to pay for this with years of my life in prison.
I do feel for his parents.
Dude, no idea. And his ex-wife and mother of his kids.
And his kids, yeah.
Yeah, by then the kids were like 12 or 13 or like 11 or 12, old enough to go, Dad's the roof man?
But also, they didn't really have a relationship with him.
They couldn't have. Not really. Yeah, I mean, he was kind of there sometimes training. They had moved out and stuff, but.
Well, when you're robbing 42 businesses in 18 months, It's hard to make time for your kids.
Right. And gone for stretches, on training, but also some extracurriculars.
Yeah. During his incarceration, Jeffrey worked in the prison's metal shop. It was here he devised a sophisticated plan to escape. He built a plywood platform, painted it black for concealment, and used it to hide beneath an outgoing delivery truck. Shockingly, his plan worked, and on June 15th, 2004, only 4 years into a 45-year sentence, Jeffrey Manchester became the first person ever to escape the facility since its opening in 1992.
This man was the master of patience in a long game because
Yeah.
to work in the metal shop where they made like jungle gyms and bed frames, and you had access to all these tools, you had to be a really, really good prisoner. So he was like supermodel, never got in trouble, never got like anything supermodel like Channing Tatum, but a supermodel prisoner. And just was like, here, yeah, have a blowtorch, have a whatever, here's another saw. And he's like, my tools, my instruments.
He Andy Dufresne them. You got to just wait it out until the moment strikes.
And then just hang on to the bottom of the truck.
It's, I hesitate to say this because this could be used against me in a court of law.
You're a judge. No, it can't.
But true. But if I were ever put behind bars, from the second I was, all I would be doing is finding a way to escape.
For sure.
I don't
This is
care
genius.
what links I have to go to. I will crawl through a tunnel of shit if it means I get to escape and go to Mexico and live on a beach forever, because
I'll meet you in Zihuatanejo.
yeah, prison life is not for me. But also, when you have a personality like his, where it's like thrill seeking and trying to figure out how to circumvent things, of course you're going to be like, well, how do I get out of this situation? And eventually you're going to figure it out.
It's like why they have, the extra work for the gifted kids. Cause it's like, if they're bored with their work, they're going to make trouble. And so it's like, give them puzzles to do, like make them do more things. He needed more stimulation inside of prison, because otherwise the brain is just going of like scheming. And
he wasn't challenged enough.
No, I think that none of this was his fault. No, I'm kidding. I'm a Roofman apologist, but don't escape from prison, certainly. But it's not like he escaped and had a standoff with police and everybody was in danger. He just slipped out.
Yeah. And that's the key to it being successful. When you get out, you got to just fade into the background. You got to Homer Simpson yourself into the bushes. So you just kind of, maybe people forget about you. Now, I don't think the prison guards are going to forget you escaped, and they'll be looking. But if you can get away fast enough, maybe you can beat them.
And especially if you've got a cool name like Roofman, they're probably like, Roofman, he got on our roof and then he disappeared like he always does. Then you become a legend. But I think if you get comfortable in the convict life, maybe not.
I'm the Roofman. He even had a theme song.
Yeah, dude.
We got to
wrote that.
Batman to Roofman. Had that come out by now?
It should.
Surely. 2004?
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
For sure. Yeah. Didn't have missed opportunity.
He should have rebranded.
When the SF Gate reached out to California Police Sergeant Jose De La Torre about the escape, De La Torre, who previously hunted the Roofman, said,
"You got to be kidding me. Anytime someone escapes, it's surprising, but this guy was very good at what he did."
He's not wrong about that.
He's like, did he cut a hole through the roof and climb outward? They're like, no, surprising. This time he went the undercarriage.
Yes.
No more Roofman. Now he's undercarriage man.
As above, so below.
So below, it's the Roofman.
Police wondered if he would make his way back to California, home of his 3 children and his beloved mother. Curious journalists contacted Jeffrey's ex-wife in Sacramento, who dispelled any notion of a West Coast destination, saying,
I truly don't believe he'll make any effort to come to California. I don't think he would put his family in that position.
Again, being considerate, but also he's not. He's obviously very smart. So that's, I imagine, where the cops would first look. So he's got to stay away. Which, if you manage to escape from prison and then you can't even go see your loved ones, what's it all for?
Right,
your freedom, essentially. But still, like, it sucks that you can't go see your mom.
Yeah, your mom, your kids, and your old friends or whatever. But
they're like, I thought you were in prison. He's like, well, I'm supposed to be
in prison. Aren't we all in prisons of our own making at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Dog, but you got to just go to Zihuatanejo. Like, stop trying. Don't I'll just hang out like near the prison. Don't do that.
No, you got to get out of the country. His ex-wife was correct. Rather than head to California, following his escape, Jeffrey hitchhiked 45 miles to Charlotte, setting the stage for one of the most bizarre and elaborate fugitive hideouts in modern crime history. Jeffrey covertly took up residence inside a Toys R Us, hiding out behind the bicycle racks. He created a concealed living area and storage spaces, sustained himself on baby food and children's snacks, and exercised by riding bicycles around the store at night. When the store became too active during the holiday shopping season, he constructed a passageway into the adjacent abandoned Circuit City, where he built an even more elaborate hideout.
I was very curious how you could hide behind the bicycle display, but apparently he took a board and it was spring loaded with bungee cords. So it like auto closed behind him. And that's how I guess nobody goes behind the bicycles. You got to check the
Never
bikes,
go
y'all.
behind the bicycles. This is so wild, though. I mean,
Just be like, do, do, do,
I
run
don't-
around.
because one, were there not cameras? Like,
I guess not. No, that
that's
he had
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, back in 2004, I guess it was not as ubiquitous as it is now. Like everything is camera operated all the time. He also like had the full run of the place. So if he wanted to, he could, detach stuff, unplug stuff, pull, when everybody left for the night. But that's a good place to hide out because you would not be without amusement.
Yeah, I'm like low key. It would be fun to be in a Toys R Us at night all by yourself. Immediately, I think of, is it Big? When they
fun.
are on the big bouncy balls bouncing up and down. Or no. I'm sorry. That's
Oh, what you say?
Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
Oh, okay. I was saying Big the Big Piano, but also this is giving Where the Heart Is with Natalie Portman. If you haven't seen it, I love that. It came out like around this time, like 2004-ish. And
where she gives birth in a Walmart?
She does. And then ends up living in the Walmart, falls in love with the librarian played by James Frain, who I had a really weird crush on as a kid.
James Frain. I don't even know who that is.
He's a British actor. He mostly plays like mean Victorian villains. And so they made him this like, look him up, please. They made him
Frane.
Frain.
Okay.
This was one of the Heather childhood obsession crushes was Where the Heart Is. I say childhood. I was a teen when this movie came out.
Well, I typed in Hans Fraun, but somehow it still knew what I meant.
Let me see if he aged well.
He's 57. He has aged well. He's
married,
though. He was married in 2004, the same year this was all going down.
He's like, I gotta look at that. But yeah, James Frain, Where the Heart Is. He's been in other stuff too, but that was like he was like this very sweet librarian in it and like very bookish and like loved her for who she was. And I was like, who doesn't want a sweet nerd to love your white trash ass as you are? So there's probably some projection going on there. But it was like the exact same thing though, where she was like, alarm clock.
He's not bad. I'm scrolling. Yeah. He was in True Blood as a vampire.
Okay, yes. I missed that. I gotta watch it.
Here he is as a Victorian type-esque. He's got a big old silk thing up around his neck. What are those called? I forget.
Maybe a collar, like a
ascot.
frilly.
That's the word I'm looking for.
That thing.
Yeah. Well, good for you. He's also 6 foot.
Hey, well, I'm down, but mostly I was excited about the idea of living in a store after hours because you're like, it's like a constant shot. When I got to sleep over at FAO Schwartz, it wasn't just us. Like for the Kid Craddock contest or whatever, we had like supervised like after hours shopping. That's not the same as like you get to run rampant.
No, and you also weren't living there. And had decorated and made yourself at home in the walls.
But dude, you know that Christmas shopping at Toys R Us, all of a sudden he's like, shit, people are getting here early and staying late. I gotta go.
Inside Circuit City, Jeffrey constructed a secret cubicle under a stairwell made of sheetrock. The hidden apartment included posters, toys, a toy basketball hoop, a DVD player, and even a smoke detector. He watched movies like Spider-Man 2 and routed water from Toys R Us to support his semi-domestic life.
I love this too that it was a 4x8 cell at the prison. His cubby was 4x10, so it was an upgrade.
He upgraded. Plus, now he has a DVD player.
And a tiny basketball hoop on the back of the door.
Probably didn't have that in his cell.
Not at all. Plus, smart to have a smoke detector. He had a fire extinguisher just in case. Like, this is a militaristic, like, always prepared.
That is the military brain coming through because a lot of that stuff, I think, wouldn't occur to the common criminal. And that's how you get caught even sooner. It's just like slip-ups like that.
You put your Spider-Man sheets on your DVD player while it's playing at night and it catches smoke and fire,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden you're busted.
Yeah. While living covertly in the store, Jeffrey adopted the alias John Zorn. He joined the Crossroads Presbyterian Church, where he became active in community outreach programs and was known for donating toys to children, gifts he likely stole from Toys R Us.
They said he had the single most donations to the Christmas toy drive. I was
Well,
like, I bet.
he had the Pickens. That's another thing. I mean, theft is probably rampant at places like that. But if you're doing the books and you're like, man, a lot of shit has gone missing lately from here. What? Maybe we should put up some cameras just,
Yeah.
to see what's going on. Then you realize you're like, who is this man riding a bike down the aisle at 2 a.m.?
They're like, wait a minute, in Spider-Man undies? Like, how is this? But yeah, they said that when he showed up to the church, that basically the congregation, the pastor, everyone fell in love with him immediately, and that he was just like the best. Like,
He was a
everyone's
nice
like, John,
guy.
we love John.
To church members and neighbors, John was charming, generous, and spiritual. He even struck up a romantic relationship with Lee Wainscott, a local single mother. They met at church, shared holidays, watched movies, and he bought gifts, including diamond earrings and toys for her and her children. Lee, unaware of his true identity, believed she had found the
Most sensitive man.
that she'd ever met.
And he was just
That's
living the
a
life.
Bummer. Yeah, but this is like on a much less gory vibe, kind of Dexter, where you're like, he seems nice. He's a little weird and quirky, but he's really nice. You're like, well, you don't know what he goes and does out at night when you're not around.
Right. It's the idea that a good looking, charming, generous guy, he went to the gym, he went to the dentist, like he's living a seemingly normal life. Like told everybody, oh, I work for the government, so I can't really tell you. It's just like this kind of plain building. You wouldn't even know it was like a contractor. So he had it, and
There's a
I'm
big
ex-military
giraffe on the front.
No,
Giant
it's
R.
dark. Don't worry. But yeah, he was friendly, and to the point that, like you said, I can't ever tell when someone is living this type of double life, when it is truly Jeffrey, but yes, he's going by John, but like he really did like these people. The pastor's like, he was a nice guy. He was down to earth. He gave me the first 2 seasons of Seinfeld on DVD.
Oh, buddy, he went and picked those up out of the
He was
aisle.
like, Pastor, I got some for you.
There you go.
You're going to love it. But I wonder where the line goes from being like the guy that quite literally like participated in Wednesday night Bible study and he was a churchgoer from early on, like really felt, believed, and loved this community and was a part of it. And the other side is like, but they don't really know I'm an ex-con. I'm not ex-con. I'm sorry. I'm a current escaped
I'm a fugitive
convict.
on the lam. Yeah,
That's
is
eerie.
And when you bring a relationship into it, there's going to be questions like, well, let's go back to your place, or let me see where you live. And it's like,
no,
you got to come up with a bunch of lies about that. Where's he showering and doing all of that stuff? Where's he getting his
gym.
clothes? I mean, but it's even, I think probably when he is out doing those normal things, he feels a sense of normalcy and does really enjoy these people. And it's probably sad to go back and you feel a sense of guilt that like you're not being completely honest, but also you're like, you're not quite ready to, turn yourself in. You've got a taste for freedom and you're enjoying it as much as you can before you get caught again.
Yeah, you don't want to go back. The Charlotte police captain said if you drew a donut around Circuit City, he said he talked with everyone in a mile. Like he was just friendly, engaging, outgoing. So you're right. It's like almost every interaction you're kind of like there's still like a film of facade, but you can't. I mean, otherwise they will call it in. The police will get you.
It's got to always be just right there in the forefront of your brain, right?
Yeah, I'm sure. It's like, but if you have that ability to compartmentalize like he had so long with the Roofman stuff, and because he was still going on like Army Reserve training while at night was doing Roofman stuff. So he was used to lying to people's faces when he told his whole unit, oh, I'm going to go stay with my friends that I lock in a freezer with the lemon slicer at this McDonald's and steal $8,000. So kind of used to it.
Yeah.
Sinisterhood will be right back. We all know spring comes with more than just flowers. It comes with sneezing, itchy eyes, nonstop congestion, skin that I want to tear off of myself because it's itching so bad. But why suffer when relief is just a click away? ZocDoc has you covered, whether you need a nearby allergist, a PCP for an initial or annual checkup, a pediatrician for your little ones, or a telehealth option when you need quick care and you feel like shit and you can't get out of bed. They got you.
They got you covered. ZocDoc can help you get allergy relief fast so you can beat sneezing season and make spring a little less sniffly. If you're like me, every day you're like, man, what pretty weather. It's killing me slowly. But
Help me.
ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high quality in-network doctors and click to instantly book an appointment so they have you covered.
It's suspiciously easy to use
Really?
ZocDoc. Whenever we first started working with them, I was like, there's no way it can all be so. There is way. And I was like, this is how it should have been all along.
And it's
Why
free.
isn't why hasn't ZocDoc always been here? It is the only way I book my shit and
Same.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you, ZocDoc. We're talking about in-network appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare providers across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, eye care to skincare, and much more.
Plus, ZocDoc appointments happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments. You can filter specifically for doctors who take your insurance, are located near you, and treat almost any condition you're searching for.
Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/creepy to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today.
That's ZocDoc.com/creepy. ZocDoc.com/creepy.
Sinisterhood will be right back.
Jeffrey Manchester's months-long charade as John Zorn began to unravel on December 26, 2004, when he attempted a bold robbery of the very Toys R Us in which he had been secretly living. After weeks of surveillance and planning, Jeffrey set his scheme in motion. He'd installed baby monitors in his hidden cubicle inside the adjacent abandoned Circuit City to keep an eye on store activity. He even went so far as to alter employees' schedules, exploiting his inside knowledge of store operations to minimize interference during the planned heist.
So he had cameras on them. They just didn't have them on him.
He had baby cameras on them. Again, stolen from everything he needs. When you think about it, you're like, Toys R Us is the perfect place to set up shop. And then what if, though, you're like, what? I thought I was scheduled for 8 a.m. I don't have to come in until 10 a.m.? Oh, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Jeffrey Manchester, for moving my schedule around.
I feel like there's a scheduling fairy, and it's like, yeah, he's hiding in the walls and he's an escaped convict.
But again, he's got a very smart mind that thinks about things that a lot of people wouldn't. But he also has a lot of time to sit and watch people and also figure out the goings on.
Yeah, you can be an expert when it's your whole job to just like plan robberies.
On the morning of the robbery, Jeffrey walked in through the store's front door, armed with a gun. But the plan quickly fell apart. 2 employees managed to escape the scene and call police, forcing Jeffrey to flee. He vanished through the hidden passageway he'd built between Toys R Us and Circuit City, disappearing before officers arrived.
I mean, it's like a ghost. They came with dogs. They said they found $7,000 of toys he had hidden in the ceiling, which maybe that's how he got away with it. If you steal a few toys at a time and just hide them, then it's not really like you stole all at once.
Yeah.
And then they could kind of chalk it up to like, oh, it's regular theft or whatever. But the idea that you come in, they're like, he ran out the back and then he's gone, and they don't know to look behind the bicycles.
Yeah.
the cubby behind the bike.
Meanwhile, he's got a whole stash like Santa's workshop up in the ceiling that he just goes and picks from to give to the church kids.
Right.
In the days that followed, investigators combed through the premises and soon discovered his hidden living quarters tucked beneath the stairwell in the abandoned electronics store. A DVD copy of Catch Me If You Can, found in the space, provided a crucial lead. A fingerprint on the DVD case matched Jeffrey's, linking him directly to the robbery. Meanwhile, Charlotte area news broadcast aired his mugshot, now identifying John Zorn as the fugitive Jeffrey Manchester. Members of Crossroads Presbyterian Church, where he'd been an active volunteer and donor, immediately recognized him and contacted the authorities. The final piece of the puzzle came from Lee Wainscott, Manchester's unsuspecting girlfriend.
I'm sorry. Catch Me If You Can.
And, well, Spider-Man. Yeah.
Also,
Spider-Man, Catch Me If You Can, and Gladiator.
He's like leaving.
I feel like we are getting a picture of what
Easter eggs.
what gets this guy going. Yeah. But imagine all these churchgoers are like, what? All
You
these
mean
kids, all these presents he gave my kids were from where now? And where's he been living? And then the
they're
poor Lee
dude, I
thought she
mean,
found the man of her dreams.
that's what, and everybody did, but yeah, especially her. They were making future plans together. They had, I mean, and again, you wonder if he thinks, well, maybe I could make this work if I
Yeah.
do lay low. But it's like December 26th. It's the day after Christmas. I think it was like the possibility of the get was too good, like the money was too good, and he couldn't help himself. But
Mm-hmm.
the idea that your boyfriend is the police knock on your door and are like, hey, we just need to tell you this. Meanwhile, his dentist office got set on fire the next day. Police think he was trying to destroy his dental records. They're like, he just burned the dentist office down. Like he's an escaped convict. And she said she was just like shocked. And she's like, this isn't true. Nope,
Yeah.
you're lying to me, to the police. And the police had to say, this is like the Department of Corrections file, like we have it. And once they showed her, she said she just became totally numb and she was just hysterical and in shock. And like, I imagine.
Yeah. Everything that you've had together, you question, you feel
Mhm.
gross. You're like, what the hell has been going on? Also, probably some puzzle pieces start to fall into place. Like, oh, that's why we could never go back to his place after dinner. Because he
Yeah,
lived inside a wall at Toys R Us.
You're like, what do you mean I can't come by? And he's like, the bungee cord will come off from the bicycles. It's a whole thing. You're like, wait, what?
It's like,
But
they
you
haven't restocked the baby food and we're going to be hungry. So
Yeah,
we can't
it's
go
not
back.
good. I have to wait till the rice puffs are in stock. But yeah, I'm sure it probably makes you review, like you said, every possible interaction you had and been like, oh, like you said, oh, that's where the toys came from, or
Mhm.
that's where this came from, or oh, that's why he couldn't hang
That's
out or
why
whatever.
I got diamond earrings. I don't,
Mhm.
from the cash. I don't think Toys R Us
Yeah,
sells
probably.
it. I think, though, if he hadn't been greedy and he really had wanted to start a new life with this woman, I don't know, the kids may have prevented him from leaving the country with her. But I think, like, if he really was serious, at some point you're like, hey, why don't we move to Mexico?
Yeah.
And then she's like, okay. And then somehow you do that and then you just live out your life there. But
He's like, I'll go ahead in this van, unmarked van that I speed across the border. You and the kids fly in legitimately. I mean, later. I'll go ahead and get it set up beforehand. But yeah, that's a good point. I wonder if that was because he's been very tight-lipped about all this. And I wonder if that perhaps was part of the long game of like, how long can I make this last? But man, you get addicted to the heist life and you can't stop.
you do. Heartbroken by the revelation, Lee nonetheless agreed to assist the police. She arranged a meeting under the pretense of celebrating her 40th birthday on January 5th, 2005, inviting Jeffrey to her home. He arrived expecting a celebration, but instead was met by waiting officers. Jeffrey was apprehended without incident, bringing an end to one of the most bizarre and elaborate fugitive stories in recent criminal history.
And he didn't blame her. He was not mad after he got arrested. He called her and he said he was sad. He was humble. I didn't love the phrasing that he was sorry he had to deceive us. I mean,
Yeah.
but he told her, he said, hey, be strong. I want to encourage you. Like, remember all the plans we had and the things we talked about doing. Like, I want you to do those. I want you to live a full life. Like, I am not upset with you. I understand why you did what you did. It was the right thing. Like,
That
what?
makes it worse somehow. Like, if
Dude,
you'd
I
been
know.
mad, you could get over it easier. But now you're
No.
like, well, now I got to go visit you in prison because I'm kind of in love with you even more.
Right. And one of the Charlotte police sergeants was like, his biggest mistake was going back for the girl one last time.
Damn.
It's like,
Always
it was
is.
so.
Always
Love.
is.
Love will do you in.
Man, the day after my birthday in 2005, this was going down. Who knew?
You'll never forget that. Every birthday, you're like, well, at least there's not going to be a police takedown at this one. That's fine.
Oh, her 40th too. That's a milestone. And you're like,
Indeed, it was.
she's like, yeah, I'm having a birthday party. Inside, you're just dying because you're like, not only is my birthday ruined, but the guy that I'm in love with is about to go to prison again,
gonna
where
watch
he's supposed to be.
Yeah, the guy that I'm in love with, I had to find out is a escaped convict.
Yeah.
Luckily, he was not escaped on something much scarier, but still the idea that a man with a gun dropping out of roofs and sometimes hitting people with those guns.
Around you and your kids?
Yeah.
Don't
And
love
you didn't
it.
know?
Yeah.
You didn't know?
Following his dramatic capture on January 5th, 2005, Jeffrey faced a slew of new charges stemming from his time as a fugitive in Charlotte. Authorities charged him with multiple felonies, including robbery with a dangerous weapon, breaking and entering, possession of a firearm by a felon, and escape from a state correctional facility. Already serving a 45-year sentence for his earlier string of McDonald's rooftop robberies, Manchester was convicted on the new Charlotte-related charges and received an additional 40-year prison sentence. His case, which drew national media attention due to its bizarre and theatrical elements, became infamous not only for his crimes, but for his meticulous and polite demeanor throughout his criminal career.
Even the cops that took him down in Charlotte were like, "Oh, he was polite, he was athletic, he was meticulous." It's all these like great descriptors.
Yeah.
They're like, I mean, he was
But
a
he
criminal,
also,
certainly.
did all this crime. Now that 15 to 22 years that he left on the table looks pretty good, though.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. And his mom kind of at the time was like, of course, the family was fielding a ton of calls of like, "You're the family of the Roofman." And she said, "He doesn't seem super embarrassed about the notoriety." She said, "I would be. I can't imagine."
Yeah.
But she said, basically, like, he's kind of quite unfazed, but it's like, this is what I did.
Yeah. And at least everyone is singing your praises as far as your personality goes. So that's cool.
The reviews are in. They love you. You're still going to jail for a very long time.
Mhm.
But they otherwise, everybody's got great things to say. But I think that does, as a parent, I wonder if you're like, well, he's doing crimes, but at least when, much like with the other cops, it's like, you did nothing wrong. You did a great job. Fair's fair. I broke the law. Take me in. It's
Yep.
interesting that he's willing to break the law, but then when he's caught, he's like, fair enough. Take me in.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
It's weird.
He gets it. He understands that like everyone has a job to do and he doesn't fault them for having to do it.
Right.
Jeffrey Manchester is now incarcerated at Central Prison in Raleigh, North Carolina, a high security facility that houses some of the state's most dangerous inmates. Despite the increased security, he has reportedly attempted to escape 2 more times, once in 2009 and again in 2017, though both efforts were unsuccessful and did not result in new charges being filed. Details surrounding these attempts remain limited, but they reinforce Jeffrey's long-standing reputation as an audacious and cunning escape artist.
And that's what the Charlotte police sergeant, one of the ones that worked the case, said. You hate to compliment the guy because he's a dirtbag, but she said, we can learn a lot from him.
Yeah.
Like, what were the, vulnerabilities in the prison? What are the vulnerabilities at McDonald's, at Circuit City, at Toys R Us? And she had said before his future escape attempt, she's like, he'll probably try to escape again. Girl, you were right. He did.
You weren't
2
wrong.
times. And like the
didn't
time,
get charges
5 years.
filed though. Is that unusual, or are they
I
just
wonder-
like, you're already gonna die in here, so whatever?
They're like, get back in there. The problem is, if you do come up for parole,
Yeah.
it's like you try to get out. You got out once and you tried 2 other times. We're not letting you out early.
Yeah.
So you kind of shoot yourself in the foot. But it's interesting that the timing is like, he got locked up around 2000. He escaped in 2004. He got put back in early 2005. He tried again in 2009. And then it's like every 4 years,
Yeah.
he's got that itch. It's been 4 years.
It takes him that long to like figure out what's going on. But yeah, that 4-year itch, that's his limit for what he could sustain in prison before he's like, I got to get the fuck out of here. Mine would have been way shorter, but
4 months.
yeah. Oh, 4 hours. As of now, his expected release date is set for December 4th, 2036, barring any changes due to parole decisions, future offenses, or sentence reductions. He'll be 65 years old at the time of his potential release, having spent the majority of his adult life behind bars. Or behind the wall of a Toys R Us.
Behind bars, behind walls. It's all the same. I say free the Roofman and do a Frank Abagnale situation like the Catch Me If You Can guy, where he started working with the FBI and he's like, I'll tell you exactly how to break into this place. Like, that's so much more valuable. He's just sitting behind bars. It's stupid to me that I'm not saying even maybe let him loose, but reduce his sentence.
House arrest, perhaps, or
the
something.
House arrest, if you agree to be a consultant or work with us, because it's somebody it's like the Catch Me If You Can guy, where it's like your case is so wild, but not everybody does something that extreme, but a ton of criminals do small versions of what you're doing or partial versions. So you would be really valuable in these aspects, but instead it's like, I don't know, go back behind bars, fuck off. It's like, well, now
the Hannibal Lecter of Toys R Us. You
Exactly.
can
He's
learn
like,
something
"Hello."
from.
Welcome. I'll tell you what baby food tastes like in the pale moonlight.
Baby
Like Jeffrey,
food, not bad. I gotta tell you, some baby food, pretty good, especially
What's the
the
best?
fruit ones.
the fruit ones.
Fruit ones are good. I like the fruit
Yeah.
ones. Yeah, but also
My-
I'm weird, and I also liked like peas and carrots and shit like that. I don't know. It was like some kind of weird nostalgia thing for
It's
me.
like,
And when I'm saying when I ate this was like, well, when my kids were little, but also in college, I would just buy baby food and eat
did you?
it.
My dad used to say that you would get free baby food at restaurants. So he's like, hippies would always come in and order baby food because it was free.
And it's not bad. I mean,
There you
you
go. It's
gotta
nutritious.
be okay with the texture, but if you can get past that, it's not bad.
Probably better than prison food for sure.
Oh, yeah. In the aftermath of Jeffrey's astonishing capture, his story captivated the nation. The unbelievable details, his hidden lair beneath a Circuit City stairwell, the stolen baby food diet, the church volunteer alter ego, and the romantic entanglement with the local mother were widely reported by newspapers across the country. His girlfriend, Lee Wainscott, who had unknowingly dated a fugitive for months, became a reluctant centerpiece in the media frenzy. Speaking to reporters after the arrest, Lee admitted,
I don't hate him. I'm disappointed and confused. I don't know whether to smack him or hug him.
capturing the emotional whiplash felt by many who had welcomed John Zorn into their lives.
Like you said, when he got caught, it's one thing to be like, you bitch, I didn't mean any of it.
Yeah.
I was lying to you. But it's like, I loved you. And
And
I'm
still
sorry.
do.
Yes. And I'm sorry you had to turn me in, but
Yeah.
you did the right thing. It's like,
And all the other people too, like this John Zorn person was someone people got attached to, and you do have to kind of grieve the loss of the person that wasn't even really that person and come to terms with the relationship you had, that like somebody could kind of win you over like this. I imagine you have a lot of trust issues after that.
oh, it would shake you to your core. She said that he was funny, romantic. Like we said, she said the most sensitive guy.
Not bad
She said,
looking either.
no, not at all. And she said the guy that every girl would want, athletic enough that he could jump off a roof and run across the highway into the bushes. Like, like very kept his fitness up at the gym. I guess you have to if you're planning another heist. But
Also by
you're right.
riding trikes around the Toys R Us aisles.
But yeah, I mean, it would be such a mind fuck. And I agree. I think it's a long lasting trauma when you're like, I have been taught to vet people by their generosity, how they treat me, what they look like. They're well dressed, they're clean, they're very well spoken. And it's like, and still they could be a secret escape convict.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Who could have seen that coming?
Mm-mm.
Interest in Jeffrey's story has never fully faded. In early 2024, it was announced that a feature film adaptation titled Roofman was in development. The movie stars Channing Tatum as Manchester and Kirsten Dunst as a fictionalized version of Wainscott, a single mother who begins dating him, unaware of his true identity. Filming took place in Charlotte, North Carolina, where many of the original events unfolded. Tatum was seen on set in November of 2024. Directed by Derek Cianfrance, the movie is slated for release on October 3rd, 2025.
I think it's going to be a dope flick. Like, I think Derek Cianfrance did My Blue Valentine. I think he was either nominated for an Oscar or won for that. I don't think it's like adapted screenplay or something. So, it's not like, bargain basement director and writer. It sounds like it will be handled with care. And Kirsten Dunst is a great actress.
They're both A-list actors. Yeah. I'm curious to see if it's dramatic or there's some comedic elements in it, because Channing Tatum, sometimes that's kind of the role he plays.
Kind of charming, funny. I bet it's probably a dramedy. Like it's kind of grounded, but still almost like the most hated woman in America, the Melissa Leo, where it's like there's crime to it, but there were some like funny parts, but you also kind of feel for this person who's kind of, I think Madeline was an anti-hero, just like Roofman is, where you're kind of like, you do and say kind of nasty things sometimes, but I also like you. Like, hang on a minute.
Catch me if you can too.
Yeah, true. Leo, the same way. It's like you lie to a bunch of people, but like you can lie to me. It's fine.
Yeah, but you're also very charming, and you have issues that are why you did the things you did. And when you start digging into that, you're like, well, everybody is human at the core, and like there's reasons that he did this.
Yeah, I think it's like he's not a complete villain, but he's also not a complete, hero or good person. It's my understanding the film is focused more on the post-escape life, although I'm sure the Roofman stuff's got to come into it, as the exposition. But I'm stoked to see it. We'll have to go see it.
I'll see it for sure. Despite the thorough investigations, one lingering mystery has never been fully resolved: whether Jeffrey acted alone during his infamous string of rooftop robberies across the United States. In 2000, Task Force Chief Michael Van Winkle told the Sacramento Bee that investigators suspected Jeffrey may have had an accomplice, stating,
He was keeping in contact with someone electronically by voice. We've never disclosed the details of that, and we don't know to say how he did that now.
no additional suspect was ever identified or apprehended, and the question of a second roofman remains an enduring part of the case's strange legacy. So, what do we think?
I mean, a wild case overall. I'm surprised he was never charged federally, given the federal nature of the spree. And I know Michael Van Winkle, every archival interview, whether it's video or newspaper, this was like his white whale. Like, you can kind of tell when he got caught in North Carolina that Van Winkle's like, I mean, we're sending someone to make sure it's really him because we're
Mhm.
really looking for him. But I think he wanted him caught regardless. This was an interesting piece, though, that there was potentially some accomplice, or because it is a lot of heists. 42 and 18 months is a lot for a single person to do completely on their own. I'm not saying it cannot be done, but if there was an accomplice, I don't feel like Jeffrey Manchester would have ratted them. I feel like he
Yeah.
would have taken the fall and just been like, don't say anything.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder if it was an accomplice or a family member he was just keeping in contact with just to, have some kind of semblance of like home. But it's weird that that person never would have been seen unless they were never the one to actually do the breaking and entering. And maybe we're just like, look out on the outside type thing.
That's a good point. Or like go in advance and like case the place, kind of go, okay, the
Mm,
bathroom's to the left in this one, and it's like the mirror of the other one instead of the right. So that way, Jeffrey never had to go into the McDonald's to be recognized of like, that's the guy that bought the McMuffin this morning. It's like a buddy or somebody that's
mhm.
like, all right, listen, and for a couple $1,000, like, I'll do this part of it for you. You're going to go do the heist. So maybe an accomplice before or after the fact. Definitely not like, there was never any reports that the person committing the roofman robberies looked like anybody except Jeffrey. Like, they recognized, people were like, oh yeah, that's the guy. And the description was always the same. What he said and did was always the same. So I don't think another person dropped through the ceiling like he did, but I wouldn't doubt if perhaps he had help. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm not the chief of the task force. Only Van Winkle knows for sure. But it's like once he's in jail, you're kind of like, well, it's kind of over now.
Yeah. I mean, he was in the military, so
Mm-hmm.
maybe he had, a buddy from there that's like, I'll help you out with this stuff if you cut me in.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the military plays a big role in why he started this to begin with. It would be very interesting because, like you said, he's been pretty tight lipped about the whole thing. But if somebody like Jodie Foster and Hannibal Lecter could sit down with him and like break through and be like, what was this all about? I think probably some kind of trauma from the military or just being out of the military and not having that feeling of like thrill or importance or like I'm doing something. Maybe some of it was related to money, but it seems like there's a lot easier ways to get money if that's the only motivation.
No, you're right. And I think you're also right earlier when you were talking about the videos that he's watched or the films that
Yeah.
he's watching, where it's sort of this like main character who's on his own doing what he's got to do, but he never, the gentleman bandit, right? Like he may be a little sassy, but he's never going to hurt or kill anybody. It's all about the heist, the score, the get, and I'm robbing from McDonald's. It's a
Yeah.
big corporate. I'm not going to go hold up a couple walking home from the theater. That's Batman's parents. Batman wouldn't do that. But
No.
you might kick in like whatever industries and like burn it down because it's a bad place. So it's like this weird, you're right, like kind of this weird sense of morality. And like being that you're in the military, part of your job is to do things that perhaps polite society, we don't go and 18 hours later conduct an amphibious assault somewhere here, but
Mhm.
that's part of your job in the military, and that's what the United States does. So you're fully within your rights to do that. But when you're out and you're kind of like, oh, well, now
This is
what?
boring.
Yeah, what the fuck? And it's like, well, I need some money. Fuck McDonald's. They've got money. You almost can kind of justify it in your head. And like,
Mhm.
I'm not going to hurt anybody. I'm not going to like, and it without regard to the psychological part of it. And it's like, I think he did not perhaps fully consider that
Yeah.
because that was the testimony at the North Carolina trials was like all 8 employees that he had, quote, kidnapped. The 8 employees from the freezer were like, I was terrified. I knew who the
Fuck
fuck this
yeah.
guy was. Yeah. And half of them didn't. I mean, they're like, we don't know what a roofman is. It's just a fucking guy in black fatigues, like jumping down, being like, could you please go in the freezer? It's terrifying. So I think, yeah, he had this moral code where it's kind of like, oh, I'm doing these things, but I'm doing bad things to a faceless corporation.
Yeah.
I'm actually being kind to people, and I'm donating all these toys. Once he escaped, I'm donating all these toys to these kids.
I'm donating these toys that I stole to these kids. Yeah.
But,
it's interesting. And I'm interested in the movie. I wonder what he's going to think about it. But I really hope that, and maybe the movie will spark some interest in someone interviewing him in prison and kind of getting some more information out of him that maybe he hasn't disclosed before.
You want to know? I'm going to write him a letter. Dear Roofman,
you're going to become somebody that writes letters to prison, and then you become a romantic relationship with an inmate.
I'm like, babe, I've been cheating on you with the Roofman via mail. He's like, what? No, but I'm going to write him and be like, we made a podcast about you. Listen to it. Let us know what you think.
Oh, dude. I mean, they have, I think, access to that in there. So
Google
maybe
yourself.
He will. He seems like a smart person. And given the fact that he's, by all accounts, very nice and polite, he's probably, doing okay, or maybe not. Sometimes that's exploited in prison. But as far as the guards and stuff, if you're like chill and you don't try and escape anymore, then
chill.
Maybe you'll get out. But like you said, having those 2 escapes, 1 that you made, 2 that you tried, that's hard to get parole on.
Yeah, I think they're going to look disfavorably on that perhaps, but it's, there's nothing to say that you can't work against what that has, what those marks are on your record, which is to say, mentoring other inmates or writing out, how you did what you did, and essentially like trying to Frank Abagnale it and like help law enforcement. And Frank Abagnale, I remember doing like training when I worked at Legal Aid that was like scam training, and it would be like, this webinar is hosted by Frank Abagnale, and I'm like, that guy was a criminal back in the day.
He was the Catch Me If You Can guy, right?
Yeah. So it's like he's gone on to become like a legitimate, not just working with the FBI as a consultant, but now he like gets paid a ton. So Jeffrey, I want to say it's not too late. You're 65 when you get out. Frank Abagnale's old and he's rolling around like, I don't know if he's still alive, but in the last few years, he was like still out doing like consulting gigs for like AARP to like help older adults. So like for sure being like, my new thing is I'm going to go help retail people of like, if you're in a robbery, these are things that could help you survive it. And like how I got fucked was these workers had this button. So I think more places should have a button, where you can now take what you've done and sort of try to make amends in a way that would help people in the future. I don't know.
Yeah. Or this whole section over here, this isn't safe. Somebody could easily drill into this and, so almost like a security advisor. Jeffrey, get on the phone with your lawyer and pitch this to the FBI and be like, hey, for a reduced sentence, I'm willing to help you out with these things, because clearly he knows how to do it. He was real good at it for a long time.
Like, you got a pen and paper in there. You got a computer, write you a book, man. Write a memoir. People would read it. I don't know that you could make, profit from it, but insofar as like getting to tell your side of it and stuff. But hopefully the movie will be a fair and reasonable depiction. And if not, you are fucking welcome, because Channing Tatum is playing you. Like
the worst case, for 2 hours, you got to stare at Channing Tatum. So I think you're doing okay.
They're like, we actually got Napoleon Dynamite to play you. You're like, what? No. They're like, no, it's Channing Tatum. You're fine.
You're like, Napoleon Dynamite, the character, not even the actor that plays
the
character.
She's got the boots on and everything. It's crazy. And at one point, he does the dance, it's not to Jamiroquai, it's to My Pony. So it's very mentally confusing.
That would be. Well,
good times.
October 3rd, we'll get to find out what exactly is in the movie and if Napoleon Dynamite's in it or not.
Or if Channing Tatum is going to ride that pony. But in the meantime, free Roofman.
Free Roofman. This episode of Sinisterhood is made possible with the help of our amazing patrons.
If you're interested in supporting the show, consider joining our Patreon. You'll get access to ad-free regular episodes, weekly bonus content, you're able to vote on episode topics, join our monthly live streams, and more.
Keep it creepy.
Mwahaha.